So, here in the book of Luke, chapter 6, it says, "Now why do you call me Lord and not do what I tell you? Everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I will show you what he or she is like. He or she is like a man building a house," or a woman building a house, and we're going to let that go now, "who dug deep and laid the foundation upon rock. And when a flood arose, the stream broke against that house and could not shake it, because it had been well built. But he who hears and does not do them is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation, against which the stream broke, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great." Now let me read it in the Holy Spirit's interpretation, the same thing. Luke, chapter 6, verse 46. "Why do you call me Lord and do not do what I say? I am Lord because I am knowledge. To listen to me and practice what I say is to find true peace that cannot be shaken, because it is knowledge. But to listen and not practice is to keep your interpretation, which is not knowledge. And so you have chosen to keep nothing and believe it is something. This is to choose illusions over truth, and illusions cannot be shared. Review my words and practice them. I am teaching you the way of peace." How wonderful. I love that. This is about the parable of the wise and foolish builders, with a musical accompaniment. The wise and the foolish builders. Jesus taught this to give an example that he was getting all this praise. "Oh, you are so wonderful, Jesus. You are so wise. You have it going on." I'm sure that's exactly what they said to him. "You have it going on." However you say that in Aramaic. But he says, what I say means nothing if you don't practice it. You don't get to just feel better about yourself because you heard these teachings, because you showed up at the mountain today, which was church, and listened to me say these things, and now you can go on about having your opinions again, and your fears. And I'm sorry, what?
We're agreeing.
Yeah, I thought, I was hoping.
Yes.
I was truly hoping, because this is only for you. Today is for the cons. I don't want to single anybody out, but today is for the cons. Now, if anybody else identifies with this, it's also for you. Only for you. If you think it's about you, it is. If you identify with this, it's because it's about you. I identify with this, so it's about me. It's just for me today. And you all have to sit and listen to me do my spiritual therapy. Oh, me and the cons. Anyway, and Jen. You're in the front row. I figure you must need this more than others. Anyway. Oh, and it's for David. Because if he gets this, it'll be easier to live with him. Because the truth, if he gets this, he'll be happy. And if I get this, I'll get to experience great joy. And if you get this, you'll get to experience great joy. Otherwise, there's no point in me offering it. I'm not here to point out what people are doing wrong, although I probably will. But not for the sake of, look what you're doing wrong. It's to observe it so that you can then say, oh, wait a minute. What he's talking about is something I no longer have to do. And that's what Bob and Linda just realized when they interrupted me, is they could realize that and say, oh, he's talking about us. in our practice. What I love about all of this, and I know so many of you, is we are being offered a way, not just out, but through. All the time, through every class we have here, through every Sunday, through these wonderful books, through workshops, through prayer, through meditation, through our songs, which are prayer meditation. Because every bit of music we do here is a prayer. In case you're ever confused about that, every song we do here, Kenneth and I very carefully look at all the songs we're going to do to make sure that it applies to our message, that it is part of the message. It's not just a nice song, some spiritual song we do in church. They all are prayers, very specific prayers. So please know there's a lot of thought given into it. Not a lot of work, just thought. Well, maybe for him there's more work, but it's almost effortless for me to do the music. And so, to think about that, I go to church, I read these books, I take classes like 4Ts. Some of you are taking the Edwin Gaines class, the 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity with me. You're doing things like that. You came to Edwin's workshop, you'll go to retreats, and you'll say, oh, that is so wonderful, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tithe, and I'm not going to forgive. And I don't have time to set goals. And I don't have a clue what my purpose is, so I'm not even going to work on that. But I'm going to go to church because it just sounds so good. Maybe one day I'll get the willingness to apply it. Maybe one day I will have enough money to tithe, that I can afford to tithe. When I get $1 million, I'm going to tithe. When those people are dead, I will forgive them. People get much nicer after they leave, after they transition. Many of you know your parents have reached almost saint status now that they're gone. And, they were wonderful. They're just wonderful. They came to me in a dream. I didn't like them when they were here alive coming to my house, but I like them now. And so to look at it and say, what if what Shawn is talking about is true? It's like, why praise the teachings if I'm not going to practice them? Why do half measures? Half measures availed us nothing, I am told by some of my teachers. Half measures availed us no thing. I gotta read this again, it's so good. Because I can. And why do you call me Lord and do not do what I say? I am Lord, because remember this Holy Spirit speaking. I am Lord because I am knowledge. To listen to me and practice what I say is to find true peace that cannot be shaken. Isn't that a lovely promise? That we all could have peace that could not be shaken. Because it is knowledge. But to listen and not practice is to keep your interpretation, which is not knowledge. And so you have chosen to keep nothing and keep it as if it is something. This is to choose illusions over truth, and illusions cannot be shared. Review my words and practice them. I am teaching you the way of peace. And so to look at my interpretation, not with guilt. Guilt is just another poor interpretation that does not lead to peace. Guilt is not redemption. Guilt is not a nice way to keep your poor interpretation, which keeps you poor in one way or another. Guilt will not give you good friends. Guilt will not give you a healthy relationship with the God of your understanding. Guilt will not give you a healthy relationship with another human being. Guilt will not give you a healthy relationship with your work. Guilt will not give you a healthy relationship with your money. Guilt. God didn't ask us to be guilty. It's just that some people ask us to be guilty, and we ask ourselves to be guilty as if it's somehow a virtue or that it is somehow a form of humility, and it isn't. Does anybody remember what I say true humility is besides David?
Expecting God's best.
Yes, expecting God's best. That is the true understanding of humility. It's not about being humiliated. True humility is expecting God's best. And to give yourself, I don't know where I got that understanding. I'll be honest with you. I got it while I was doing the 12 steps. In the 7th step, that's where I got it. And I don't know where I got the understanding. I just knew it, somewhere I heard it, either from the inside or the out. And I knew it was true. That true humility is expecting God's best. So I needed to get to work to expect God's best, to become willing to expect God's best rather than keep giving my interpretation of how life ought to be lived, about what I ought to say to be nice, what I ought to, and I'll tell you something, it has driven a few people away. When I'm not taking care of people's feelings, when I'm not doing that. And I don't seek to not take care of people's feelings out of hostility. I don't seek to do that. Often it doesn't even occur to me to take care of somebody's feelings they'll be hurt. They'll be hurt if I say, I don't know if they'll be hurt or not. I do know if they are. Usually it's because they decided to be, rather than I found out the night of Christina's concert, a woman wanted to put all her chairs over there. I couldn't even get to the soundboard. And so she left in a huff when I told her she couldn't. And I'm sure I didn't take care of her feelings. I'm quite certain of that. I just said, we can't do that. It's illegal to block this pathway, so you have to sit in the back there. Well, I don't want to sit. Well, you got here late. I got to move. I got to start the show. Oh, it's too hard. And she left. Christina has since thanked me because this woman has been a problem in her life for years, and she's now free. And but I do know a couple of people listening in didn't care for my tone. I don't know what my tone was, except that I wasn't taking care of feelings. I was looking to get it. I went back to tech guy mode is what I did, because I did licensed sound for many years, and I never took care of people's feelings, and that I just wanted to get a show up and do it really well. That was my whole motive. It didn't occur to me really that we were people having an experience. It occurred to me we're putting on a show, and get out of my way. Because I have to do great lights for you and great sound for you. And so how do we combine kindness, joy, peace, and open communication? So it can't be about dismissing each other either. And that's what I'm learning. I can't dismiss you. You have feelings. I have feelings, believe it or not. And sometimes I go to my office and I weep. I don't go to my office and weep. But I do go and pray. I do go and pray and ask to see correctly. If I am somehow disturbed, then I have to look at where I created a disturbance. Even though maybe somebody else came at me, it seems like. Somebody else said it in a way that I don't respond well to. What I've been taught by my teachers is if my peace is disturbed, I'm the one that disturbed it through misperception. And it's not that I should be guilty. And it's not that I should hate this. It's not that I should do anything except seek God. In all things, seek first the kingdom. In all events, all situations, all fears, all trivialities, and all big stuff. And there's no difference in God. Let's be clear on this. There's nothing big to God and small to God. There's just stuff that we can seek the kingdom to get our true information on. If you want true information. Otherwise, we're going to interpret it. And we usually interpret it based on a losing past. We will look and see how this has hurt me before, and so I have to, rather than open to it and say, come on, God, show me. Instead, we come to it and say, don't hurt me again. Don't hurt me again. We'll have the defenses, and don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. How do I say this to you so you won't hurt me? How do I say this to be nice? And then maybe you will. I've written a newsletter for the upcoming weeks about trying to get around God by saying nice things, thinking if I say it nicer to God, maybe God will give me my good. Or will think I have redeemed myself. If I just say it nicer. God is not my grandmother. I could say things in a nicer tone to my grandmother, and she would give me the world. But I don't have to do that with God. Because God is not interpreting. I have to know my motives. I have to know I am accountable. I am responsible in my experience of love through my willingness to see it rather than interpret. And so in my humility to say, okay, God, if this is the best, show me what it means. Show me how to respond to it by showing me what to think about it. So that I don't have to push anybody away again. So that I can go through my process. I recently finally wrote a letter to someone that I haven't wanted to go around for quite some time. I haven't wanted to go near. And I didn't know how to explain it. And one day in December I got it. So I wrote a letter explaining it and sent it. And today, I'm studying for today's talk this morning. I'm thinking, maybe I can open this up to wider communication. Maybe I can actually contact them now and have a communication. And I didn't expect that. That really surprised me. And I realized how much I want a wide communication with the whole world. I want to be able to hear someone else's interpretation without it being a threat to me. I want to know that I am safe to do that. And it can't be on relying on the other person to make it safe for me. The only thing that will make it safe for me is correct perception rather than interpretation. And so you see, I can go to anyone where I sense a conflict. First I pray and I say, God, speak through me. And I am listening. And so even if they yell at me, whatever if I'm expecting the best, maybe this is our chance to heal, and they just needed to get something off their chest. And it's so not personal. I had one person in my life, twice, they let loose with a barrage at me, and I was clear, this is not personal. They need to release this. And I could actually pat them while they let loose with everything they had in anger and stuff. And a lot of it was about me, and it didn't matter. I knew I'm loved by God. And so I can let them, and then peace prevailed. Nobody hit anybody. Nobody hurt anybody in that moment. So, what I encourage each of us today here to begin doing is, when you want to step into your present, say, okay, I'm going to expect the best from God here. I expect God's best if I am doing what I'm told is in principle. If I am behaving in principle, meaning with that which cannot be changed, if I am promised my life will be even better if I step into this new practice, this new behavior, this new thinking, into this relationship and the healing of it, into this tithing thing, into this whatever I've been urged within spirit to step into. But I'm going to step into it expecting the best. Other people have gotten the best by applying principle, by applying forgiveness, by applying all of it. Well, if they can have a great life when they do it, even though life still happens, well, then so can I. And God, I expect the best. I expect to thrive. And I expect to recognize that and know that, not just for myself, but for everyone. That I am willing that all beings have a great life, and I'm not responsible for how they have that great life, but I'm willing to see all beings thriving, prospering. I am willing to know that even if they are experiencing pain at this moment, they don't have to suffer, and I'm not the one responsible to take their pain from them. but perhaps I'm responsible for witnessing it and knowing the truth of their journey. Just as I can look in the mirror and witness my own journey and hand my thoughts over to God, so that if I'm guided over here, maybe I'm guided to work in a soup kitchen, maybe I'm guided to work in a corporation, maybe I'm guided to open a business, maybe I'm guided to write a book, maybe I'm guided to sell all that I have and give it away. Maybe I'm guided to play the lottery. Maybe I'm guided to love this being and this being and this being. And it's safe because I'm listening to the guidance of Spirit rather than my interpretation. And don't play the game. How do I know? How do I know if it's my interpretation? Try it and find out. You'll find out if your motives were not pure. You'll find out very quickly, as a matter of fact. We come here for pathways to peace. We're given the example today of the wise builder and the foolish builder. And the wise builder built on rock, so that when the storms came, his house still stood. If anybody's house currently is on sand, you might want to consider moving. Take this time now, if you haven't already done it, to build your foundation. I did that early on in my healing. My first year in 12-step healing, I heard loud and clear, Shawn, build a foundation now. If you want to have the great life you see these other people having with time, build your foundation now. Build it in the steps, build it in the doing what you know is the next right thing to do. Good, orderly direction. Do it now. Because life is going to happen, Shawn, and it's going to get big, and it's going to get wonderful. And when that breeze blows really hard, you don't want your whole being to fall over, and suddenly you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do. Build your foundation in God. Not religion, but God. Build your foundation in the principles you know to be true. There's not one of us in this room that is too old or too young. Not one of us is too old, perhaps, to strengthen our foundation. If we already have a good foundation, let's strengthen it. Life's going to keep happening. Life is going to keep happening. Let's affirm life abundantly. Rather than hiding from it, let's affirm, oh, this is wonderful. There's so many things I want to experience still. I'm not too old to have experiences. I'm not too poor to have experiences. I'm not too poor. I'm not too lonely. I am just right. I am just right to have great experiences. I don't have a clue how to have them. My friend, my teacher, Edwin Gaines, when she comes out onto a pulpit, and she says, my name is Reverend Edwin Gaines, and I made a commitment to the Lord of my being that I would be 100% responsible for the transformation of the prosperity consciousness of planet Earth, and I'm very clear about one thing. I haven't the faintest idea how to do it. She knows that, but she knows she'll be guided to do what ought to be done by her. Could it be okay that you have a purpose, that you are guided, and you haven't a clue on how to do it, on how to accomplish that, but you're willing to hear the still small voice that says, show up over here, make this phone call, ask for your good, make a mind map, do what ought to be done by you now. Forgive this being, or at the very least, become willing to forgive this being. Oh, the freedom to take the hardest person we know of to forgive and start praying on that one. The assignment last Monday night in our 4 spiritual laws was to recognize someone you have put out of your heart this week and let them back in ways you have not imagined. You can't do that with the absence of God. You cannot do, I got it from here, God, thank you. Can't do it. Apply this stuff, expecting the best. So it is.